Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, bandits gun down villager, abduct 19 others in Kaduna. 8 worshippers rescued, 17 still in captivity as kidnappers strike in Ondo State. Victory at the tribunal for Governor Kefas and Aliu of Taraba and Sokoto states. Also in the news, Senegalese Navy stops 2 migrant boats carrying 272 passengers. Many thanks for joining us on the News Hour. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. We start in Kaduna as it was yet another week of terror in the state for residents of Angwar Makeri in Kufana Chiefdom of Kajuru local government area of the state as bandits stormed the community, killing 1 person and abducting many other residents. Tamimu Mukaddas, the secretary of the community, confirmed the incident on Saturday, stating that the attackers arrived the community at 12 midnight, killing 1 individual and abducting 19 others. Now, in the wake of rising insecurity in Kaduna, many communities are resorting to self-help in safeguarding their families and loved ones. Fatima Adamu was recently kidnapped and killed by her abductor, and her mother decided she wasn't going to wait for the authorities to arrest the perpetrator, so she decided to take matters into her own hands, leading to the apprehension of the culprit. Now, the bereaved mother did the unthinkable that led to the arrest of her daughter's killer. Well, let's get the very latest from Kaduna. Mohammed is joining us now to give us update on some of the developments. Mohammed Yaba is a Daily Trust reporter in Kaduna. Mohammed, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. What do we know about this recent attack in Angwar Makeri?
Well, actually, like it was reported earlier, the bandits or the suspected bandits were said to have stormed the community early this morning, that is around 12 a.m. And abducted, where they killed 1 of the villagers and abducted about 19 other villagers within the community, which happened under Kufana district in Kajuru area. Now, what we gathered is that most of the
Hello, Mohammed. Right.
Hello?
Mohammed, you're going to have to repeat that because we lost the connection for a few seconds there.
As earlier reported, the bandits.
Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to circle back, Mohammed, for now. I think the connection is a bit poor and we can't make sense of what you're saying at the moment. So perhaps we'll try back and circle back later to get more thoughts about this developing story as far as the attack by bandits in Angwar Makeri in Kufana area of Kajuru local government in Kaduna State, where so far we've learned that 1 individual has been killed and 19 others have been kidnapped by what appears to be another bandits attack in Kaduna State, a statement that's been confirmed by a community leader and also our very own Mohammed Yaba, just giving us update on that development. So moving on to other developments, to some more security news now. Operatives of Operation Safe Haven, a multi-security task force maintaining peace in Plateau and parts of Bauchi and Kaduna states, have paraded 8 criminals suspected in the criminal activities across Jos, the Plateau State capital. Now, the suspects were paraded at the headquarters of the command and were arrested in connection with the murder of one Dorothy Jonathan and for committing other offenses, including the burning of St. Raphael Catholic Church at Fadan Kamantang village of Zango Kataf local government area and the killing of a herder at Gora town, all in Kaduna State. Here's the very latest.
Parading the suspects, The information officer of the operation, Captain Oya James, said 2 of the suspects were arrested for the gruesome murder of Dorothy Jonathan at Afana village in Zangon Kataf local government area of Kaduna State. Captain James explained that the arrest of the suspects and neutralization of some bandits follow intensified effort by the operation, adding that troops will continue to do everything possible to deal with criminality in all areas under their operations.
Acting on credible information, Lord Dauda was immediately arrested following a manhunt operation launched by the troops. In all, we have 8 suspects recently arrested by the dogged troops of Operation Safe Haven in southern Kaduna for their involvement in different acts of crime and criminality.
Some of the suspects speak on their arrest.
Amount, I do not know. And since I was arrested, there's no single question.
We were returning from farm when suddenly soldiers stopped us and asked if we were the ones that killed a Fulani man in the area. Though a gun was found in our possession, I wasn't the one that killed him. I don't know who killed him. The media officer, however, said the commander of the operation appreciated all law-abiding citizens for their support in the fight against criminality, promising that the suspect will be prosecuted in court soon after investigations. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
And in Ondo State, 8 out of the 25 Christian worshippers abducted by suspected gunmen in the state on Friday have escaped captivity. The Amotekun commander in the state, Adetunji Adele, confirmed this to reporters in Akure on Saturday. Adele says the escapees included one health official who was abducted on their way to a burial in Ifon Ose local government area of the state. Adele said the escapees, or rather disclosed that his men alongside officers of the Nigerian police and the Nigerian army as well as other security agencies are conducting an operation in the bushes to rescue others who are still in captivity. The victims are said to be members of the choir of the Christ Apostolic Church, Okeigan, in Akure, the state capital, and were abducted on Friday around Elegbeka village, where they were on their way to Ifong for a funeral ceremony. The Owo-Ifong-Benin Expressway has become a dangerous corridor as several cases of kidnappings and armed robbery have been happening in recent time. Now, Daily Trust reporter in Ondo State, Tosin Tokwe, is joining us live to give us update on the operations to rescue the 17 others that are still in captivity. Tokwe, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. What do we know about the rescue mission, and what are the security officials saying about this particular mission?
Yes, good evening, and thank you for joining me. As at this evening, the information we got was that 8 worshippers out of the 25 earlier kidnapped yesterday were rescued, though there are contradictory statements from both the Nigerian police force and the Amotekun Corps later this afternoon. What we were able to gather from the Amotekun commandant was that 8 of the victims were escaped from captivity, which he issued a statement. And also later, the spokesperson for the Ondo State Police Commander, Formulayo Odunlami, was able to tell us that the 8 victims were rescued from the kidnappers then. So these were contradicting anyway. But the good news is that
Tosin,
part of the...
Yeah, Tosin, just on that particular note, do we know whether they escaped on their own or were they rescued by operatives?
That is exactly what we could not get. But the good news is that 8 of them are already out of the kidnappers den, and efforts are on to also rescue others. So the issue of whether they escaped or whether they were rescued, we could not actually get that. So I got in touch with the spokesperson for the Ondo State Police Command, and what she told me was that the 8 victims were rescued according to their men. That's men of the anti-kidnapping squad or the field who are already combing the bush to also rescue others from the kidnappers.
Right. Tell us a little more about this expressway, the Owo-Ifong Benin Expressway. It has become quite notorious of late as far as cases of kidnapping and armed robbery is concerned. What are the authorities, alongside non-state actors like Amotekun, for instance, doing to restore law and order or some sort of normalcy along that corridor?
Exactly. The Ifong axis, say local government, like we have said, is a notorious road which is synonymous with issues of kidnapping and armed robbery. And that particular route is a close border between Ondo and Edo State. And in recent time, there have been a large outcry of motorists, who have seen that particular area as a nightmare because of activities of kidnappers on that road. 2 years ago, if you recall, that a traditional ruler, in fact, of Ifong, Israel Adewusi, was, killed on that particular road by suspected gunmen. They were trying to, kidnap him when his driver wanted to escape him from that scene. But, as a result of gunshots, the traditional ruler was killed on that route. Apart from that, we've had incidents of kidnapping on that particular route. Several persons have been kidnapped by gunmen, and each time security agencies will continue to tell us that they are always on top of the situation, even when motorists have, asked or demand for more security personnel on that route. And also, you recall there was a time that the Amotekun commanded, the Amotekun Corps also said the area, because of its boundary with Ondo and Edo State, there is need for them to intensify more efforts. And that was the time that there was collaboration between Amotekun Corps and the Nigerian police, including men of the DSS and the Nigerian army. So that area, because of the intensity of that area and because of the border path, they told us then that when most of these gunmen come from the neighboring states, after perpetrating their evil, they will also be sucked back into the neighboring states.
Right.
So,
and
with the analysis.
Yeah. And Tosin, just before you go, just give me a sense. This is kidnapping for ransom, right? Is this what usually happens?
Pardon?
Is this kidnapping for ransom?
Yes. It's kidnapping for ransom. Right. And even with the latest kidnapping that we have today, there are information that are updated that even the kidnappers are even asking for 50 million naira ransom from the families of the victims who are still in their custody. That is the fresh update as at this evening that we got, that the kidnappers are demanding for 50 million naira ransom to free the remaining victims in their captivity.
Right. Tosin Tokpe, thank you very much for the updates, and we hope to hear from you soon as this situation continues to develop. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Right, that is Daily Trust reporter, joined us with an update from Ondo State on the recent kidnapping of worshippers who are en route ceremony in the area of Owo-Ifong, and that in itself has given birth to a lot of controversy around the rescue or the return of 8 out of those travelers who the police say were rescued by their operatives as part of an effort to get back those travelers abducted by the gunmen. To some of the day's other news now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says the federal government under his leadership is implementing programs and policies that will empower Nigerians to combat the challenges of poverty, criminality and terrorism. Represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the passing out parade of cadets of 70 regular corps of the Nigeria Defense Academy in Kaduna State on Saturday, the president says the programs were part of a new national defense and security strategy by his administration. According to the president, the initiative will be driven by a resolute commitment to confront the substantial security challenges that is threatening Nigeria and the West African sub-region. The president also directed all heads of defense and security institutions in the country to unite their efforts to protect the nation's territorial integrity. He further disclosed that the Economic Community of West African States under his leadership is diligently working to enhance the region's conflict management in order to restore peace and stability in the region.
These graduating cadets, like those before them, are stepping into a world proud with threats, a world that demands unique skill sets to conquer the adversaries of the state. They are going to find themselves in a dynamic landscape, one marked by combat and regimental realities vastly different from those encountered by their predecessors. Our hope is why we gather here today. Our hope is this spectacular proof that they have received superior training that equips them with a distinct advantage to safeguard the nation's security and advance our collective future.
Now to Sokoto State, where the State Gubernatorial Election Petition Tribunal has dismissed the petition filed against Governor Ahmed Ali of the state by the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Saidu Umar. Now, Umar challenged the victory of the governor on 6 grounds, which involved falsification of certificate, name variation, election fraud, and non-compliance to Nigeria's electoral guidelines. Abubakar Imam tells us more about the judgment.
The 3 other respondents include the Deputy Governor of the state, Idris Mohammed Gobir, the All Progressive Congress, APC, and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. In a unanimous judgment, the 3-member panel, led by Justice Haruna Michelia, said Umar and PDP have failed to prove their allegations. He affirmed that the Deputy Governor's primary certificate, questioned by the petitioners, was intact. On the names variation, Justice Michelia stated that Ahmed and Ahmad were all referring to Governor Ahmed Aliyu Sokoto, citing a Supreme Court judgment on a similar case. On the alleged certificate forgery, the panel averred that to prove forgery, 2 different documents of persons needed to be presented, but the petitioners failed to do so. He therefore dismissed the petition for lack of merit and failure of the petitioners to prove their allegations. Reacting to the judgment, the lead counsel to Umar and PDP, Usman Sule San, said they will apply for the copy of the judgment and after studying it, decide their next step.
We apply for the judgment, look at it, compare with our client, and take a further step. Because we have 2-3 months to go. Court of Appeal and Supreme Court. So these are processes. If our client gives us where we are, we'll still proceed. But obviously here, the beauty of it is that when our client, I'm able to go to state, give us this confidence to challenge the result when declared by the INEC. And we're still in the game to look at the judgment and advise our client accordingly.
All right. I am quite sure that this judgment will be upheld no matter the level it may be taken to. Right. That is my view of this judgment.
So is there any cost granted in favor of the respondents?
No, the tribunal did not award any cost.
Okay.
And we felt that cost ought to have been granted, having regard to the time spent, the labor expended by the respondents in defending this petition. But we are grateful to God that we won the case.
The chairman of All Progressive Congress in the state, Alhaji Isa Sadiq Achida, however, described the judgment as the reaffirmation of the Sokoto's people mandate.
What I will ask my people to do, the APC, is to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to see the success of our governor-elect, or the governor that has just won his case. And that is what we will pray for him. We'll make sure that in Sokoto State we have succeeded, we provided dividend of democracy to our people.
And the entire state.
And the entire state, yes. Well, I don't want to talk about opposition because there is no more opposition in Sokoto State.
Earlier, operatives of the Department of State Security, DSS, had barred journalists from private media from covering the judgment, citing security reasons. From Sokoto Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, Abubakar Imam reporting for Trust TV.
To Taraba State now, where the State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has dismissed the petition filed by the NNPP for lacking merit. The judge declared that the petitioners failed to provide substantial evidence to convince the tribunal to overturn the results declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
In its judgment, the tribunal led by Justice G.A. Samonu stated that all 128 evidence provided by the petitioners were not satisfactory enough to cancel the results of the Taraba State governorship election. Justice Samonu added that the case lacks merit to scale through the test of legal adjudication. Counsel to the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Sam Ada told newsmen after the case that the court was not satisfied with all the evidence provided by the New Nigeria People's Party, stressing that the petition and evidence lack merit to challenge the result.
First ground is that the election was invalid by reason of non-compliance. And that the second ground was that the governor did not win the election by majority of lawful votes. All the 128 witnesses they have brought did not prove any of the allegations against the return of the governor.
Counsel to INEC said the petitioners substantially abandoned their petition because what they provide as evidence is completely different from what the court required to prove their petition.
A document cannot speak for itself. So if there is any issue with the document, you call as witnesses those who made the document and people in whose presence the document was made.
The Taraba State Deputy Governor Aminu Alkali called on the party to shun proceeding with the case at a higher court as the suit is bound to fail, advising that they should rather channel their energies towards supporting the government to deliver the dividends of democracy to the people.
So I will invite them to accept the extension of our hand of friendship to them, so that they will give us their blueprint also that they intend to use in developing this state, so that we develop the state together with them.
The NNPP senatorial candidate on behalf of the party called on people of the state to remain calm and await the party's next decision.
This is just the first phase of the legal process. In electoral tribunal of this kind, I think we have like 3 phases. After the tribunal, there's going to be appeal and, if need be, up to Supreme Court.
Justice G.A. Samonu informed the petitioners that if they are not satisfied with the judgment, they had 3 weeks as stipulated by law to appeal.
Well, in reaction to the judgment being delivered, the Taraba State Governor, Agbu Kefas, has assured the people of the state of his commitment to justice, equity and transparency in governance for the benefit of the people of Taraba State. He gave the assurance while interacting with supporters shortly after the tribunal upheld his victory in the governorship election in the state. The governor thanked his party and the people of Taraba State for their support and prayers, adding that the victory belongs to the people of the state. He urged the petitioners to join hands with him to move the state forward, adding that the business of developing Taraba State is one that requires the contribution of all stakeholders.
I extend a hand of unity and cooperation to my esteemed fellow contestant, Professor Sani Aya, and the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP. Let us together prioritize the welfare and progress of the people of Taraba over any further litigation. Engaging in prolonged legal battles will only deplete our valuable resources.
Well, still in reaction to the judgment being delivered in Taraba State, of that it has been delivered in Taraba State, the NNPP governorship candidate in the 2023 gubernatorial election in the state, Muhammad Yahya, has rejected the judgment of the governorship election petition tribunal in the state, which affirmed the election of Governor Kefas Agbu. Sani, in a phone interview, says he will appeal the verdict of the tribunal at the appeal court to reclaim his mandate. According to him, his legal team and that of his party have presented the required documents and witnesses to buttress their case, but wondered why the three-man panel of justices at the tribunal dismissed his petition, saying it lacked merit. He called on his supporters to remain calm as he heads to the appeal court for justice. Well, let's unpack some of the developments around the verdict and judgments delivered by the tribunals over the past couple of days, especially with regards to recent developments in the country. Joining us on the program is Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Sam Okabo, and of course he's going to provide us some legal perspectives to this development. SAN, thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour. I appreciate you for stopping by. First of all, for most Nigerians, there's a lot of confusion with regards to the verdicts of the tribunal. Give me your professional views on some of the head-scratching judgments that we've seen of late. Case in point, Kano, the recent one being the one in Kaduna. What are Nigerians missing from this whole debacle?
Thank you. I don't think they are missing anything. Yes.
So you agree it's confusing?
Well, you may look at it as confusing, but for those of us who are lawyers, we know that it's not confusing because it's any judgment would either be in favor of one of the party. It can't be for both. Most times, the loser would say, oh, you did not take into consideration certain aspects of our case and evidence to reach a judgment. And usually that's the basis for the appeals. Yes, a case in point that I think would need to be explained is that of Kaduna, whereby the tribunal upheld the preliminary objection and went ahead in hearing the merits of the petition. I will explain that, and found for the petitioner. But here is the catch. You know, when you file your petition and the respondent has the right to assess your petition and see whether or not it meets the standard of the law. If he feels that without even going into the merit of it, he can challenge the competence of the petition itself, he would file a preliminary objection. But this time around, unlike the previous cycle of election petition, whereby that preliminary objection could be attended to there and then, now the Constitution says all matters, all contentions, all preliminary objections against the petition, either against the jurisdiction of the court or the competence of the petition, should be heard together with the substantive petition and judgment and rulings delivered together. Let me give you an example of how it is. In 2014, I had a petition in Gombe, and they challenged the competence of the petition on the ground that I announced myself and signed processes as Sam Kagbo, whereas my certificate reads Samuel Peter Kagbo. We now had to abandon the petition and struggle on that preliminary objection.
Yeah, but SAN,
yes, by the time we got back to they upheld the preliminary objection, dismissed the petition, but by the time we got back to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court said they were wrong, we only had 3 days.
Yeah, but
we only had 3 days.
SAN, this is the qualms that Nigerians have with the entire process. That these technicalities, right, is leading to us sacrificing justice, because at the end of the day is these mundane technicalities that ends up taking the shine away from the facts of the matter. Because just like you pointed out, for instance, the technicalities does not mean that the petition is lacking merit, but that simply certain rules were not followed, and that doesn't seem fair to most.
I agree with you, because like in the case of Kaduna, I think they said they made an application for the commencement of the trial earlier than the scheduled dates. That's the ruling of the court. And on the basis of that, they dismissed the petition, but went ahead to uphold the petition of this on the merit, which is okay. Both of them are going to go on appeal anyway. The one whose petition has been dismissed is going to appeal, and the one who also have been found against on the merit will also appeal. By the time they get to the Supreme Court, because thankfully for the governorship elections, they will go to the Court of Appeal, and from the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court. It could be either way. And the judgments there could even be reversed. It could be the Supreme Court saying that, oh no, the judgment or the ruling on the preliminary objection is wrong, and the judgment on the substantive case is wrong. That possibility is there. But nobody is losing anything now, because both the preliminary objection, which you called technicality, and the substance of the case have been heard. You understand? But even in the case of Sokoto, even in the case of Sokoto, I was involved. I was part of the team of the APC there, and I was basically on the ground from the beginning to the end. We had preliminary objections there. We were overruled on our own preliminary objection, but on the substantive case, the petition was dismissed. I guess congratulations are in order then for you. Thank you very much. But more importantly, as far as Nigerians are concerned, right? These contradictions and the conflicting viewpoints from all the legal teams, and I know that you have colleagues on some of these legal teams that are either with the petitioner or with the respondents. And I'm very sure you can speak to perhaps their integrity and their intellect about how good they are prosecuting some of these cases, right? Yes. When you hear a petition is dismissed for lacking merit, I mean, it suggests that someone who's just trying to be mischievous by taking this matter up at the tribunal. Is that your understanding when the tribunal says, petitioners lack merit in their petition to challenge the victory of an election? No. I say, when you say lack merit, you did not meet the threshold of evidence that is needed for you to make your case. I have said so here over and over. Election petitions are not like ordinary cases. They are very technical and mathematical, more or less. And if you are involved, you could more or less tell where the pendulum will swing. For some of us, we knew that the case in Sokoto came dead on arrival. And that is why the moment easy for you to say because you're with the APC team. No, trust me on this, trust me on that, and I'll be surprised if they go on appeal. And let me give you a scenario. One will finish, some of us, I was even ready to open the case for the second response, that is for APC. Chief Olanipekun said, what are you doing? You want to waste my time and the court's time? They have not done anything. Have they presented the case? What have they done? If for anything, they've made your case. By their own showing, they've made your defense. So let's close our case. That and then on the same day, we'll close our case. And we were damn sure, we told our client, they said, go to sleep. This is done and dusted because the case came dead on arrival. Okay. For Kanu, yes, let's wait and see, because some of those things that are thrown at us, they are novel. And the good thing about this judgment, especially those ones involving the governorship election, is that they will go to the Supreme Court. Okay. And when they get to the Supreme Court, some of these principles and propositions would all now be what? Streamlined and given a finality by the Supreme Court. And that corpus of principles will now form the what? The basis for the determination of cases that are coming hereafter. Okay. Just before we go, recently the Chief Justice of Nigeria groaned or complained about some of these electoral cases inundating the court system, creating a clock entirely within the system itself. Yes. Would you say that what we've seen so far from the tribunals, the presidential election petition, the State and National Assembly election petition tribunals, I mean, they're winding down now with the gubernatorial election petition tribunal. They have just a couple of days now before October 11 for the time to run out. Do you think it is an improvement on all the petition tribunals that we've had over the past couple of years? Is this the jurisprudence? Is this a value add in your view? It's difficult to say. There has actually never really been a time whereby you would say, oh, the jurisprudence is below standard. For every round of election, you have a new set of electoral act, and most of the time we are not given the opportunity to go beyond a round of election before you have amendments. And like I would always say, if you are confronted with provisions of a statutory act and you are the very first to go and espouse those provisions, it is neither here or there. Right. So most of the time you are the guinea pig for the principles. So you'll be quoted tomorrow at your own expense. Tomorrow somebody is going to say, at the case of Sam Kagbo and INEC, this was what happened. But meanwhile, you've lost at the election, lost your resources, lost your time. But what? You've contributed to the corpus of electoral jurisprudence, just like Buhari did. Many times we had to be quoting him for the number of times he went to court and lost. The same thing with the same thing with Atiku. Most of the cases we are quoting are cases that he's been involved with in the previous round of elections.
Okay, I think it's safe to say and to deduce from your take that there's still room for improvement. Sam Kagbo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you very much for joining us on the program. We appreciate the analysis.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Right, okay, moving on to some of the day's other news now. The National and State Assembly Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Lafia, the Nasarawa State capital, has affirmed the election of the State Assembly Speaker Ibrahim Balarabe and 3 other members of the State Assembly. The 3-member panel, led by Justice Francisca Isong Nang, in separate judgments which lasted about 10 hours, dismissed the petitions for lacking in merit. Affirming the election of the State Assembly Speaker Ibrahim Balarabe of the All Progressives Congress, the tribunal says the petitioner Ibrahim Saad of the People's Democratic Party could not substantiate his claims of non-compliance in an election that returned the Speaker on the 18th of March as winner. The election of the Assembly Majority Leader Mohammed Omar Defu of the APC for Kwana constituency, which was challenged by the PDP candidate Basil Osheka, was also affirmed. Similarly, 2 Social Democratic Party members of the Assembly, David and Onarigu Musa of Udege Loko and Uke Karshi constituencies, won their cases at the tribunal. The tribunal also upheld the election of Musa Saidu Gude as duly elected member of Uke Karshi State constituency in the March 18 exercise. Speaker Ibrahim Balarabe spoke on his victory at the petition tribunal.
I want to appreciate Almighty God for giving me this victory today, and I want to thank the panel of judges who has delivered a very sound and well-considered judgment that affirmed my election as member representing Umaisha Uja constituency in the State House of Assembly. I give glory to God. This judgment actually strengthened my mind. I have every belief on judiciary, and I will continue to appreciate them at all times. For my constituents, I should assure them of my good representation, and I will not fail them by the special grace of God.
Well, you're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up ahead, setting the record straight, Tiv community refutes stereotype about their culture. More stories coming up ahead after the break. Welcome back to the News Hour. Thank you very much for staying with us. Here's a quick reminder of our top stories at this hour. Bandits gun down one villager, abduct 19 others in Kaduna. 8 out of the 25 abducted worshippers escape captivity in Ondo State. Now, in the wake of rising insecurity in Kaduna, many communities are resorting to self-help in safeguarding their families and loved ones. Fatima Adamu was recently kidnapped and killed by her abductor, and her mother decided she wasn't going to sit and wait for the authorities to arrest the perpetrators. So she decided to take matters into her own hands to make sure her daughter gets justice. Now, this bereaved mother did the unthinkable that led to the arrest of her daughter's killer. The report.
Investigation by Trust TV in Zaria reports that the abductee resides at Sadoki Road in Wusasa of Zaria local government area of Kaduna State. Speaking at her residence, the mother of the kidnapped lady, Nana Fatima, said she could not explain further due to grief. A younger sister to the victim, Hajara Adamu, explained that the young Fatima had traveled to Kaduna with the intention of spending 4 days. Hajara added that when she did not return at the stipulated time, several phone calls were put to her without a response.
In the first instance, when he called, he asked us to pay the ransom to him. He asked us to come along with 200,000 naira, but we begged to bring 120,000 naira. He said he will talk to his superiors if they will agree to release her with that amount.
She said it was later that a man picked the call and told them that Fatima was abducted by him and demanded the sum of 100,000 naira as ransom. According to the family, the amount was raised and given to the suspect at the appointed place in Wusasa, Zaria. The sister further explained that the suspect promised to release the victim that day, but could not till after 3 days when he called back and demanded for another 100,000 naira.
Later, when we took the money, he directed us to go under the flyover bridge. When we got there, he told us to come back, so we headed towards Kasuwa Market in Wusasa, and he again told us to come back and proceed to the hospital. He met and collected the money, assuring us that my sister will be released later in the day. He also informed us not to worry in the event that we call and don't get his line, because the victim will still be released.
At this point, the mother and the sister, after selling her plot of land, took the money to the designated meeting point in Wusasa, Zaria, where she saw and recognized the suspect. Fatima instantly raised alarm, which attracted people to the scene and subsequently helped in arresting the suspect and handed him over to the Dammagaji Divisional Police Station for interrogation. The acting public relations officer, Kaduna State Police Command, ASP Mansoor Hassan, has confirmed the arrest of the victim, assuring that investigation is ongoing to get to the root of the matter. From Zaria, Abubakar Sadiq Muhammad, Trust TV News.
Such a very sad development there. Now, in other news, as part of activities to mark the 63rd independence anniversary of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will make a nationwide broadcast on Sunday, October 1st at 7 a.m. A statement by the Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajurin Gilali, indicates that television, radio stations and other electronic media platforms are enjoined to hook up to the network service of the Nigeria Television Authority and radio services for the President's broadcast. Now, the Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Lekon Balogun, on Saturday pleaded with organized labor in the country to shelve the planned strike action that is set to begin next Tuesday. Oba Balogun, in his message on Nigeria's 63rd Independence Day anniversary, issued in Ibadan by his personal assistant on media, Oladele Ogunshola, urged the labor leadership to have a rethink. He said the labor unions, which comprise of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, should explore ways of resolving the vexatious issues instead of embarking on the planned strike. He equally enjoined the federal government not to overstretch the people, saying there must be tangible measures to reassure Nigerians that the Tinubu administration's renewed hope agenda was truly for real. The Olubadan, however, acknowledged the position of the labor movement vis-a-vis the plight of workers and the generality of Nigerians. Oba Balogun equally congratulated Nigerians on the 63rd anniversary of the country, while enjoining all Nigerians to be thankful to God for keeping the country together, irrespective of the myriads of challenges that the country has encountered. While investors and other well-meaning Nigerians have been charged to partner the Oyo State government to develop the state's tourism sector and position it as a major source of revenue. The state's Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Wasiu Olatunbosun, gave the charge in Ibadan at an event to commemorate World Tourism Day.
It is a rich display of culture and the diversity of the rich tourism potentials with which nature has blessed Nigeria's space-center state, Oyo. There are about 168 tourist sites in Oyo which have been left to rot away, but this gathering of illustrious sons and daughters of Ibadan is a calculated attempt at reviving the ailing sector, which authorities here hope can become a major source of revenue generation.
Let's use the opportunity to call on investors to come and partner with Oyo State government, and that is exactly what we are using this medium or this gathering, that all Ibadan indigenes should come and invest in tourism, and most especially Power Tower.
Today, the world is moving away from non-renewable energy to renewable energy. Tourism is a sustainable venture, most especially cultural, ecological, geological, and agricultural forms of tourism.
This event is a strategic attempt at creating more awareness on the need for notable sons and daughters of Oyo State to invest in the tourism sector.
United Nations made it known that tourism is the largest employer of labor in the world. So for us to take tourism or to take this destination into the mainstream tourism, we need to get people involved in the business of domestic tourism.
Well, culturing goes with our tradition. You see, there is no, whatever you do, you need time. There's time for everything. You must have time for enjoyment. You must have time for leisure. Something like this. I mean, this is a very big thing that has been done 18th century by Captain Power himself.
In Oyo State, as I know, we have like 168 tourist center that they are very interesting to visit. We have in different places in the state of Oyo.
The benefits to the Oyo State tourism sector would be enormous if it could get its tourism potential back on track. Experts have projected that this move will create more employment opportunities and generate more foreign direct investment as well as foreign exchange for the state.
Now, it is a false narrative designed to ridicule our culture. This is the position of a cross-section of thieves in reaction to a viral video targeting the culture of the Tiv people in Benue State. The comments by a reality TV star has irked the Tiv community in Benue State, who say reality is being distorted by people who know nothing about their culture. Jimmy Azande has more.
Since the latest video surfaced online, there have been reactions from across board. Senior citizens of Tiv origin said it has always been the culture and tradition of the Tiv man to offer the highest level of hospitality to his visitor, a situation often misinterpreted or misrepresented through mischief.
People who make such insults know that Tiv people don't give out their wives to visitors, friends and strangers alike. They happen that because of the magnanimity of Tiv people, hospitality of Tiv people. Tiv people are good to visitors. They are good to themselves. They are good to visitors. When a visitor comes, you give him a lot of attention. You ask your wife to give him drinking water, give him food, put water for him to bath. is an insult that casts the Tiv people as mumu. They are too good, so they are likely to give their wives out too. This association is known by the people who make it. That is a lie.
Seeing one very well does not necessarily mean you are giving the whole property, including wife, to that person to deal with. It's so uncalled for. And sometimes I look at such things because of maybe out of jealousness. Jealousness because when you treat somebody very well and other people look at it, they feel that they should also be doing as such. And if they could not, they start giving you names and giving you giving a negative impression of the other side. It has never happened, it will never happen. But if you think you will try it, come and try and you see. The grave will be the result. Nobody will give you out his wife to a visitor in Thailand.
The women on their part, while sharing their experiences on the issue, said the insinuation is only a figment of the imagination of people who have not experienced the Tiv culture.
I have been teaching Tiv in this university for the past 15 years. So, as someone who is teaching the culture of Tiv people, I'm supposed to know the culture of my people. I have never had that experience of him asking me or lending me out to a friend or any of his brothers. And I've not heard, not from my father, not from my mother, not from any other Tiv person.
It's totally unofficially wrong that a Tiv man would take his wife and then no. It doesn't happen. It doesn't just happen. I don't know where those lies came up from, whether they were from the outsiders or wherever, I don't know. But it's totally wrong.
They submitted that this insinuation has been on for decades and wondered if any tradition will subject their wives to such demeaning level. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Well, the notion is just ridiculous in and of itself, isn't it? Now, to developments on the international scene, the Senegalese Navy says it has intercepted 2 wooden boats carrying 272 would-be migrants 100 kilometers off the coast of the capital, Dakar, on Friday. 7 children and 16 women were among the passengers who were taken back to a Navy base in Dakar, according to a statement. It shared a photo. The authorities shared a photo of a brightly painted fishing vessel on the open ocean, overloaded with people with no shelter from the elements. Thousands of migrants braved the hundreds of miles of ocean separating Africa from Europe each year in a desperate search for a better life. At least 559 people died attempting to reach the Canary Islands died in an attempt to reach the Canary Islands back in 2022, while 126 went on missing on the same route in the first 6 months of this year, with 15 shipwrecks recorded so far, according to the International Organization of Migration. In August, only 37 survived after a migrant boat carrying 101 people from Senegal had been adrift in the ocean without fuel for weeks. And in sports, Team Delta has emerged champions of the 7th National Sports Festival in Asaba. Trust TV's Adeni Ajifashe has more.
The competition that started 10 days ago at Stephen Keshi Stadium, where over 5,000 athletes and officials had gathered to compete for honors in 35 sporting events for 2023 edition of National Youth Games, has ended. The closing ceremony witnessed combined march pasts taken by athletes to celebrate unity and independence, a beautiful mixing of athletes from different states. Team Anambra won girls 100-meter gold with Lucy Chiamaka coasting home in 12.29 seconds. James Igbibije came first in boys 100-meter race for Team Delta in 11.03 seconds. Artist Kayed performance turned the stadium into frenzy with his songs. hosting an event has its benefits and traders came in their numbers to the stadium. Food vendors, POS operators, fruit sellers, among others, were on ground to earn a living. Prince David, a duvet seller, said he made some money while also wishing for more sporting events to come up in Asaba.
It has been good. Market has been fair, and we've been making a lot of money. In ourselves, mostly in my business, I've done so many turnout, like I've sold so many sheets. That's what I do.
Juliet Elozino cannot wait for another games.
I really love it though. We just pray they should come back, even if it's next year, so we can make some money now.
President Sport Association of Nigeria, Isaiah Benjamin, believes more can be done to make youth games better, while commending Delta State government.
So far so good. I can't say for free. Asaba always doing well, and I hope and pray that we will sustain the tempo.
Undisputed Team Delta emerged champions with 51 gold, 34 silver, and 31 bronze medals, with a total of 116 medals to lead a pack of 36 states that participated. Team Lagos second, while Team Edo third. The 8th edition will be back to Asaba, Delta State in 2024. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And that sums up the news bulletin at this hour. Thank you most kindly for joining us. As always, we encourage you to follow us across our social media platforms to keep up with our content. And you can visit trusttv.com for the latest news. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching the news, and good night.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.